Welcome to the Show Day Podcast. Today is August 3rd, 2019. Last night, we witnessed day one of the 2019 DCI Eastern Classic with 10 corps competing. Now tonight, the final 12 world-class corps will put their shows on the field in one of the most legendary stadiums on the DCI Tour. Also today on the Show Day podcast, scores from two open class shows last night in the Midwest, and taking a look at where that leaves those scores heading into today, which is the final day of tour for those ensembles. So I'll get to a recap of last night and take a look ahead to tonight on today's Show Day podcast. So, as I said, day one of the DCI Eastern Classic last night in Allentown. Always a great event to attend each year, whether you're there in person, watching online, or just following along at home with scores and everything else. Just a great event. You see all the performances over 2 days. One of the best events over the 2 days of tour, of course, with it being a regional. So, the only non-competitive storyline here that I want to highlight first is there was a brief lightning delay between the troopers and the academy. Just lightning moved into the area. Not really any rain or anything affected the show. It really did not rain there much. Just a few drops of rain kind of throughout the night. But there was lightning. The 8-mile rule is kind of what DCI goes by. So if there's lightning within 8 miles, they'll shut the show down and get all the corps back to the buses and cover and get the fans out of the stands. Obviously, with the safety of both the members and, of course, the spectators in mind at each event. So that was the only non-competitive storyline, as I said. So now moving into the competitive side of things. Last night we saw the top 3 corps and 5 of the top 8. We saw the Blue Coats, Blue Devils, Santa Clara Vanguard, Blue Knights, and the Blue Stars in attendance. This is just 5 of the 10 corps that were there. When we look at general effect, just looking at the overall totals, you've got the Blue Coats at 38.25, still on top of the Blue Devils. In this caption, really, those corps have not gone up very much in score, and are kind of just sitting in this lower 38 part of the scoring chart right now, not going up, but not going down at the same time. Blue Devils at 38 even, so 0.25 to the Blue Coats in general effect. Vanguard definitely not up where Blue Coats and Blue Devils are in general effect, at 37.2, more than a point behind the Blue Coats in that caption. Blue Knights get passed by the Blue Stars here. Blue Stars, that is, in 4th, a 35.3, and the Blue Knights in 5th, a 35.15. Looking at the bottom half of the leaderboard, we also saw the Academy, Madison Scouts, Troopers, Genesis, and Music City perform last night. The Academy finished 6th in general effect at 32.85. Madison in 7th at 31.5, Troopers in 8th at 30.75, Genesis in 9th, 30.35, and Music City in 10th at 29.975. In the visual caption, I'm looking at this top 5 again. Really, a good cutoff point is this top 5. Really, Blue Stars being a corps that will probably finish 7th, 8th, 9th, and then the Academy, really a corps that's going to finish probably somewhere out of finals, 14, 15, 16, somewhere in there. So visual proficiency, you've got Blue Coats on top by a 10th over the Blue Devils. Vanguard then in 3rd. Blue Stars pass the Blue Knights there by 1/10 of a point. Visual analysis, Blue Devils do get the upper hand here by 3/10 over the Blue Coats, and then another 2/10 back to Santa Clara Vanguard. Blue Stars once again in 4th over the Blue Knights in 5th. And then in color guard, Blue Devils in 1st, once again, 19 even. Blue Coats in 18.8. Santa Clara Vanguard in 3rd. Blue Stars again in 4th, and Blue Knights in 5th. Overall visual scores, you see the Blue Devils come out on top at 28.6. Blue Coats in 2nd at 28.4. Santa Clara Vanguard in third, a 28 even. So once again, kind of Vanguard's kind of fallen off the top just a little bit. Blue Stars in fourth at 26.75, and Blue Knights in fifth, a 26.4. So just two takeaways here real quick. We've been talking about a lot. I say we as kind of like the drum corps community in general. We've been talking a lot about the possibility of there's 5 caption awards that are awarded at championships. The possibility that 5 different corps win those captions, and when we look at this general effect, the Bluecoats won. Color Guard, Blue Devils won last night, but I would go on to think that the Boston Crusaders would win that. We see them tonight, and the visual caption, the Blue Devils, they continue to win that. So just picking up on that real quick, I'll cover that again when we go over the music caption in a minute. And one other thing here, Blue Stars ahead of the Blue Knights in general effect and visual. It's really that music caption, again, that I'll get to in a minute, that really pushes the Blue Knights ahead of the Blue Stars. Looking further down the visual lines, visual proficiency, just kind of touching on that again real quick, Academy in sixth. Then there is a little bit of a drop-off between the Academy and the Madison Scouts Troopers, those corps, but still Academy down in this bottom 5 here. In visual proficiency, as I said, Academy in 6th, Madison 7th, Troopers 8th, Genesis 9th, Music City 10th. Visual analysis does get a bit interesting. We see Troopers and Genesis both finish ahead of the Madison Scouts. Their Troopers besting Madison by 0.6 of a point in visual analysis. Then in Color Guard, Academy in 6th, Madison Scouts 7th, and Troopers, Genesis, Music City. Overall visual scores, they do finish 6 through 10. Academy in 6th, a 25.05. Madison Scouts in 7th, Troopers 8th, Genesis 9th, and Music City in 10th. Looking in music, then, with these top 5 corps. Looking in brass first, you've got the Bluecoats on top, a 19 even, Blue Devils in second, 18.8 Vanguard. Within a reasonable distance of those top 2 in brass, we've seen them kind of fall off those 2, and really, if you throw Crown on top of all 3 of them, Vanguard is in 4th, which may sound low, but really it's not in the grand scheme of things. Blue Knights in 4th in brass, just a point behind Vanguard in that subcaption, and then Blue Stars in 5th. You see 3/10 separating Blue Knights and Blue Stars. Analysis, not going to touch too much on that. Vanguard first in the one, and Bluecoats first in the other. And then in the percussion caption, Vanguard again on top of 19.2. Blue Devils in second at 19.05. Bluecoats in third. Blue Knights in 4th, and Blue Stars in 5th last night in percussion. Again, if we look at those caption awards that are handed out, as I said, Crown will probably win brass, and Boston will probably win color guard. Those are kind of the 2 I'm making a little bit of an inference on, but the 3 we do have assured kind of after last night is Bluecoats won general effect, Blue Devils won visual, and then here in percussion, Vanguard won that. So I think it's very reasonable and almost a guarantee that we will be seeing 5 different corps winning each different caption award a week from now. So I'm not going to be surprised if we see that. I'd actually be a little bit surprised if we didn't, because that would mean one corps would have to be one corps would kind of have to upset another corps that has been holding a spot all season pretty much. So I do expect that to kind of be the result next week in Indy. So back to the recap here real quick. Bluecoats in first in music, a 28.525. Vanguard does get second there largely because of that percussion and that music analysis score, really largely because of that music analysis score. Blue Devils in third. We've seen them struggle a little bit in music this season, not struggle like big time, but just compared to their competition. Blue Knights in 4th and Blue Stars in 5th. Overall score is Bluecoats in first and 95.175. Bluecoats have won each regional this season. Can they keep it up and sweep the whole season pretty much, sweep all the major events? We'll have to see next week. Blue Devils in second at 94.95, still within striking distance, just about 2/10, a little less to the Bluecoats. Santa Clara Vanguard in third at 93.588. Blue Knights in fourth and 88.1, and Blue Stars very close to the Blue Knights in 88.025. The bottom half of the leaderboard then, jumping back to the music caption for a minute. Brass, we see the Academy in sixth by a large distance over Madison, then Troopers, Genesis, Music City. The first music analysis judge gives Madison sixth, Academy 7th, Troopers 8th, Genesis 9th, Music City 10th, and then the other gives Academy 6th, Madison 7th, Troopers 8th, Music City, then jumping Genesis in that subcaption by 4/10. Music percussion, you see the Troopers all the way up in 6th there is 16.8, Madison in 7th is 16.6. 8th place, the Academy, a 15.9. We've seen them struggle in percussion this season, and yes, that is somewhat of a low number, below 16 right now, heading into championship week. Genesis in 9th in percussion, and Music City in 10th. Overall music totals, we see the Academy in 6th, a 24.25. We see the Madison Scouts come extremely close to them, largely because of percussion and also the first music analysis score at a 24.225. Troopers in 8th at 24 even, Genesis in 9th at 22.675, and Music City in 10th at 22.225. Definitely close competition heading into championship week in this music caption farther down the leaderboard. Overall scores in this group, we see the Academy in 6th at 82.15, Madison Scouts in 7th, a 79.375, Troopers in 8th, a 78.25, so about a point separating those two, Genesis in 9th, a 76.125, and Music City in 10th at a 74.45. Just one final note with DCI East before I move on to the two open class shows from last night. We did have one open class court attendance, Encore, wrapping up their inaugural open class season. They finished the season with a high score of 56.75, so a job well done to them completing their first season. Excited for what things lie ahead for the Encore organization. So, the first of those open class shows last night was the Legends Drum Corps Open in Plainwell, Michigan, of course, hosted by the Legends. So, just looking at the recap, there's two big battles I want to highlight, and when I say big, quite a number, of course, in the conversation in those battles. So let's just work our way down, starting in general effect. Legends at the top in that caption at 30.3. Then a 1.1 drop off to this first big battle in Southwind, 7th Regiment, and the Guardians. Really, I was not sure how this would line up coming into yesterday. We had seen 7th Regiment gain on Southwind in recent days, and also the Guardians throwing them in here. We haven't seen them against those other two this season, so really I wasn't sure how this would all line up, but it did end up how I thought it would, just maybe not the exact margins that maybe I thought it would. So when we look at general effect, you see Southwind and the Guardians kind of a mile ahead of 7th Regiment there. 7/10 ahead of 7th Regiment at 29.2 to a 28.5, Southwind Guardians tying in general effect. If 7th Regiment wants to gain some points up the leaderboard in the coming days heading into championship week for these corps, these open class corps, really championship days, because really after today is championship time for these open class corps. If 7th Regiment wants to gain in the general effect caption, there's not a whole lot you can do, but there are some tweaks and stuff that I'm sure you can make, and if there is room for them to improve in that show and in this caption, I'm sure they'll try to find a way, just to try to gain a few tenths heading into championships to maybe defeat some of these other corps like Golden Empire or numerous others in this whole conversation here, and also like to maybe get up ahead of Southwind, something they've been trying to do for quite a while now. The second battle here, now working our way even farther down, is Heatwave, the Raiders, and the Lace Centaurs. And this is a battle I've talked about for quite a while now on the podcast, really each and every day. And that is the battle for Open Class Finals this season. 14 cores head to Marion on Monday, 12 advance to finals on Tuesday. Really, I've been saying this is the battle. Heatwave versus the Raiders versus the Lay Centaurs. Maybe the Colt Cadets will fall into this, but I think the Colt Cadets are going to be ahead. So, just looking at how these scores end up in general effect, you see the Heatwave in 5th at 26 even, Lay Centaurs 5/10 off of that at a 25.5, and the Raiders in 7th at 25.3, somewhere where they've kind of struggled this season, is that general effect caption. Heading over to visual, just looking at these two battles, the 2 through 4, and then also this 5 through 7. Two captions I want to highlight real quick, or two sub captions, I should say. Not so much visual proficiency, but visual analysis and color guard. Visual analysis, you see the Legends in first at a 14.5. Guardians pulling very close to them, just a 10th off at a 14.4. 7th Regiment in third, Southwind, that is, in fourth. 5th place in the visual analysis subcaption goes to the Lay Centaurs. 6th place to the Raiders. 7th to Heatwave. All over the place in visual analysis, and kind of the recap keeps that up in color guard. You see the Legends in first at a 14.8. Big drop off though, then down to Southwind in second, 7th Regiment in third. Like Centaurs, they've done very well this season so far in color guard. They keep that up, besting the Guardians. Heatwave in sixth, then the Raiders in seventh. What does that all mean for visual? Well, not a whole lot. Margins do get close, but placements don't change very much. Legends in first at a 22.15, Southwind in second at a 21.05, 7th Regiment in third at 21 even, so very tight between those two in visual. Guardians in fourth at 20.55, Heatwave in fifth at an 18.9, Raiders in like Centaurs in sixth, that is an 18.85, and Raiders in seventh at 18.55. So very tight competition when we look at these battles. Particularly in visual, we see Southwind 7th Regiment very close, and we also see Lay Centaurs, Raiders, Heatwave, that battle pretty close here as well. Heading over to the final caption at this one, and that's the music caption with these scores. Looking at brass first, you've got Legends coming out on top of 15.2, Southwind far way back, 1.2 back. They're at a 14 even, 7th Regiment in third. Got Guardians, Heatwave, Raiders, Lay Centaurs. We've seen Lay Centaurs kind of struggle in music. Really, we've seen all three of these scores struggle a little bit in music. Heatwave, Raiders, Lay Centaurs. But really, because they're all kind of struggling at kind of an equal level, to be fair, they're just keeping this all fives, all sixes, all sevens consistently night in, night out. Heading over to music analysis, just highlighting Southwind, 7th Regiment Guardians. You've got 7th Regiment in second there, coming within 6/10 of the Legends in that subcaption. Guardians in third at a 14.5, just 2/10 behind 7th Regiment. And Southwind in fourth at a 14 even. Music percussion, Legends out on top of 15.1, 7th Regiment in second at 14.4. We see the Guardians in third and 7th Regiment in second. Overall music totals, Legends at a 22.8, 7th Regiment in second at a 21.4, third place to the Guardians at a 21 even, fourth place to Southwind at 20.9, fifth to Heatwave, sixth to the Raiders, and the Lay Centaurs in seventh in music. Overall totals, we see the Legends come out on top at a 75.25. I said they needed to be at a 76 or 77 in order to stay into that open class finals conversation. I think it'd be better to stay within where Spartans and Gold is, and they're still behind. But it'll be very interesting to see how they mix in on Monday and Tuesday. Southwind, they come out on second in this event, a 71.15. 7th Regiment closes that gap even more, just about 2/10 now, a 70.9. Guardians in fourth, a 70.75. So really all three of those scores very close. Heatwave in fifth at a 63.55. Raiders in sixth, a 61.95. And Lay Centaurs in seventh at a 60.75. Heatwave, I think, is feeling good right now that they have that open class finalist berth next to locked up, but I wouldn't guarantee anything until we see all of these scores on the full recap, because keep in mind, you add another two general effect judges and you also add this other music analysis judge. This is something these open class scores don't see all season, other than like in a case where like the Guardians competed at San Antonio. But that's the only such case where an open class score has competed on a full panel this season. The third and final show last night, the second open class show, was Tournament of Drums in Marion, Iowa. We saw the other 7 open class scores here, so 7 in Plainwell, Michigan, 7 in Marion, Iowa. Um, Very interesting battles here as well. Spartans in gold, and then Louisiana Stars, Golden Empire, River City Rhythm. Shadow kind of jumps up there a little bit. Colt Cadets kind of jump up to Shadow in not really a whole lot, but they do pull close in some things. So really, again, some interesting stuff. So looking in general effects, Spartans, they come out on top by 6/10 once again over gold at 30.8 to a 30.2. Louisiana Stars in third at a 28.1. Golden Empire fourth, 28 even. River City Rhythm in fifth at a 27.6. So those 3 cores there, Louisiana Stars down to River City Rhythm, all within just 5/10 in general effect. Shadow in sixth, a 25.3, and Colt Cadets in seventh at 23.9. Over in visual proficiency, Spartans on top by 3/10, then Louisiana Stars in third, 3/10 above Golden Empire, and then another 4/10 back to River City Rhythm. Shadow a point behind River City Rhythm, and the Colt Cadets in seventh there, 6/10 behind Shadow. Visual analysis, Spartans in first, gold in second. River City Rhythm does well there. They jump up to third at a 14.6 to the Louisiana Stars 14.3. Golden Empire falls off a bit there at a 13.6. Shadow in sixth, and the Colt Cadets in seventh. And then finally in visual and color guard, you've got Spartans in first at 15.7, gold in second at 15.1. Definitely large margins separating these top 2, Spartans and gold, especially in this visual caption. After gold, you go down to Golden Empire and Color Guard at a 14 even. They've done well there this season, ahead of Louisiana Stars, who are at 13.7. River City Rhythm then in fifth, another 3/10 back to them. Shadow in sixth, 5/10 above Colt Cadets. Overall visual, you've got the Spartans in first at 23.6. Gold in second at 22.95, so 6.5 tenths there, and then add that to the 6/10 margin Spartans have over gold in general effect. Definitely looking really good for the Spartans right now in their hopes to be open class champions this season. Louisiana Stars, they finished third in visual at 21.35. They finish over Golden Empire, who has a 21 even. They tie with River City Rhythm there. Shadow in sixth at 19.3, and Colt Cadets at an 18.5. Colt Cadets within a point of Shadow in visual. Then finally in music, brass first, you've got gold doing well in music. This is something we've seen in both of these scores meetings this season. Brass just 3/10 separating them, but Spartans still on top. Louisiana Stars in third at a 14.4. Fourth place to River City Rhythm, a 13.7. Golden Empire kind of off the pace just a bit in brass at a 13.2. That's 1.2 behind the Louisiana Stars there. Shadow in sixth at 12.9, and Colt Cadets in seventh at a 12 even. Music analysis, you've got gold jumping Spartans there. Only time they do that in the whole recap, they jump Spartans by 2/10, a 15.5 to a 15.3. That 15.5 is a very solid score. I have to say that in music analysis. Anytime these open class scores put up scores close to 16 or even higher is very good for those scores. After the Spartans, who are second in music analysis, you've got River City Rhythm in third, Louisiana Stars fourth, Golden Empire fifth, actually coming quite close to Shadow there. Shadow just within 2/10 of Golden Empire, and then the Colt Cadets in seventh, actually pulling kind of close as well, just 2/10 behind Shadow there. And then music percussion, you've got Spartans on top of 15.2 to Gold's 15 even. Golden Empire, then you've got Shadow doing well in percussion. We've seen that numerous times. Louisiana Stars fifth, River City Rhythm sixth, and Colt Cadets seventh. Overall music, Spartans come out on top here, a 22-9 to a 22-7-5. Gold does come close, but Spartans still have the upper hand. Louisiana Stars best that group of three. Once again in music, you've got River City Rhythm then in fourth, Golden Empire fifth, Shadow in sixth, and Colt Cadets in seventh. Overall scores, Spartans come out on top at a 77.3. As I said, they are looking very good in their hopes to be Open Class champions. Gold in second is 75.9. Louisiana Stars in third is 70.7. Golden Empire, they finished fourth at a 69.6. River City Rhythm in fifth at a 69.55. You got Shadow in sixth at a 64.85. And the Colt Cadets in seventh at a 61.6. I would honestly not be surprised for maybe the Raiders or maybe the Les Centaurs to pull kind of close to the Colt Cadets. I'm not sure how those bottom four in Open Class will shake out, but it's going to be very interesting over these next couple of days. Tonight, kind of just picking up where we left off last night. So, DCI Eastern Classic in Allentown, Pennsylvania, presented by Big, Loud, and Live. You can watch live on Flow Marching. This one will get underway 6 o'clock Eastern Time. Welcome to National Anthem. 6:10, an exhibition performance by a sound sport team. DCI's website does not specify who that group is, but there is a group scheduled at 6:10 and another scheduled at 6:20. Sonus Brass Theater scheduled then. 6:30 Seattle Cascades, 6:47 Jersey Surf, then Pacific Crest, Spirit of Atlanta, and the Colts 7:55 and intermission. What are we watching for with these first 5 world-class scores? Well, first, Spirit of Atlanta. Can they pull closer to Phantom and the Crossmen? Right now, as things sit, Crossmen are sitting in 13th place. Yes, take that for what it's worth. Not same show scores and whatever else. But Phantom's coming on the Crossmen, and this is something I'll talk about in a minute once again. But they're coming, and Spirit of Atlanta is also kind of hitting their stride as well. So can Spirit continue to gain, maybe get 85, 86 tonight? That would be huge for them in their hopes to make finals. Also, Pacific Crest, can they best the Colts for the first time this season? That's another thing we'll be watching for tonight. So then, just moving to this back half of the show, you see Phantom Regiment, Crossmen, Mandarins, Cadets, Cavaliers, Carolina Crown, and the Boston Crusaders. Kind of just picking up where I was talking about with Spirit and the Crossmen and Phantom, just that those three tonight will be very interesting to see how they finish. I honestly think Phantom will finish ahead of the Crossmen, and that Spirit can pull kind of close to both of them tonight. The Mandarins, then they're kind of sitting in this 10th place right now. They can't really go up and they can't really go down. So that's positive, but also negative at the same time. Cadets, they've kind of separated themselves from the Mandarins, but again, having a little bit of trouble going up. We'll see if they can best where the Blue Stars or Blue Knights scored last night. And then the Cavaliers, Crown, and the Boston Crusaders. Very interesting there. Boston's got passed by the Cavaliers in last week, but they've also pulled quite close to Crown. So could the Cavaliers win the show? Could Crown win the show? Could Boston win the show? Those are all possibilities tonight at DCI East. I'll be here once again. Very excited for tonight. Hoping the rain holds off, but as long as it's something like last night where they can get the show underway, it can rain all at once as long as the show gets in. The second show, and I'm not going to talk a whole lot about these two open class shows because it's the same shows we saw last night. The scores from Plainwell, Michigan go down to Avon Lake, Ohio for the Shoreman Brass Classic. Same storylines I was talking about before to watch again. 7th Regiment Guardians Southwind, that battle, and Heatwave Raiders and Les Centaurs as well. All things worth watching from this one. And this is, I just want to throw this in real quick. This is the final day of the season for open class scores before they head to championships this upcoming week. This is the final day of shows for these scores. So get your best run of the season in today. Schedules for Monday will come out, I believe, tomorrow. So How they'll be slotted is kind of up in the air, but I think they average all the shows that these scores have been in, at least from recent dates. So, last show this season for these scores before championships, and hopefully they have great shows. Same thing with these scores here at the East Troy Showcase in East Troy, Wisconsin. Those scores from Marion, Iowa, go here. Colt Cadets, Shadow, Golden Empire, Louisiana Stars, River City Rhythm, Spartans, and Gold. Just those same things. Gold and Spartans. Can Gold pull any closer to Spartans? And then River City Rhythm, Louisiana Stars, and Golden Empire, all worth watching as well. So, thank you for watching the podcast today. Just a few things. Make sure to visit my website, drumcorpscentral.weebly.com, for all the latest updates from the DCI and DCA summer tours, scores, schedules, leaderboards, and more can all be found on my own personal website about all things drum corps. Make sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Drum Corps Geek, and subscribe to the Show Day podcast on YouTube, where this podcast and more will be posted. And finally, leave your thoughts in the comment sections. Questions, input, comments, etc. would all be greatly appreciated. So thank you for watching the podcast today. Have a great rest of your Saturday, and I will be back tomorrow.